Hi everybody. Sorry I'm a bit late again. I remembered I had to dash out. I wanted to go down the garden and get some more apples that are still lying on the ground before it got dark. Oh, it's chilly out there. Anyway, how are you all doing? Has anybody kicked off their sugar-free journey this January? Or are you waiting to be inspired? Anyway, excuse me, in this live, I just get my water. In this live, I'm going to be talking about cravings. My hair's all sticking out. And yeah, cravings are one of those things that people fear quite a lot. You know, if they think about giving up sugar, first of all, they feel that deprivation that we talked about yesterday. And I countered that with the idea of adding in. And next, people are also going to be thinking, but what am I going to do about the cravings? The cravings feel awful. And how am I going to deal with that? And the truth is that, yes, most of us who give up sugar will get some sort of, hi Michelle, will get some sort of cravings. Some people won't. Some people just don't. They just slip into sugar-free quite easily. But most people will get some sort of cravings. Now, what I find, I'm the sort of person that if I understand what's actually going on in my body, and I'm given some idea of how I can manage that within myself, then that makes it bearable, because I think, okay, it's happening for this reason. It's only going to go on for approximately this amount of time. Therefore, I can see the end of it. So that's what I'm hoping to do today, is to just share some insights into the different sorts of cravings that we can get. And, you know, things that you can do to help those cravings feel less. Now, I'm assuming, Michelle, as you're still on there looking, that you can actually hear me. That would be great if you can give me a thumbs up, so I know you can actually hear me. I'm sure you would have said if you hadn't. Yay, that's good, fantastic. Okie doke, so cravings. What is happening in our body? Well, as I've said the last 2 days, you know, going sugar-free is a massive, you know, it's a massive step up really in terms of looking after ourselves, looking after our body, and really nurturing ourselves and nourishing ourselves. Fantastic, Michelle. So what's going to happen when we start, you know, taking sugar and processed carbs out of our diet? Because let's face it, processed carbs are pretty much the same as sugar in terms of what our body, how our body responds. There's going to be there will be a reaction. Now, actually, the reaction is a good reaction, but sometimes it won't feel a good reaction. So let's talk about the different things. So I'll tell you what the 5 different types of cravings that I've identified have, and that's given my own experience of going through them. So first of all, you've got the detox cravings, then you've got hunger cravings, then you've got blood sugar cravings, then you've got gut cravings, and then you've got emotional cravings. Now, all of those types of cravings, you may not identify which they are, but they all can be tackled in a similar way. So let's go through them and let's give you some ideas of what they are. So detox symptoms, detox cravings. Now, this happens because when we go about our normal diet, eating processed carbs, eating sugar, generally throughout the day, we're carrying on eating these things, not really thinking about it. These are incredibly challenging foods to our body. And when we're continuing to eat them, our body sort of is working in a suboptimal way, if you like. Day to day, our body will always be cleansing and it will always be detoxifying. I don't generally like the word detoxing because our body detoxes naturally. If it didn't detox, we would be dead very, very quickly. So it's something that always happens, but it's about how optimal are we detoxing? That's the bit. So when we're eating lots of sugar and processed carbs, our body is compromised in some way. It's not able to cleanse as effectively. So it's a bit like how you feel when you're a bit knackered and you maybe have got some tidying up to do and you just sort of push stuff around. You know, you don't go under things, you don't dust things, you just do the minimal you can get by with. And that's what happens when we have a diet that challenges us. We just do the bare minimum. Now what happens is when we take sugar and processed carbs out of our diet, which is really, really challenging for us to deal with, then all of a sudden our body is like, oh my goodness, all of a sudden I've got all this energy and I've got a real backlog of cleansing to do, and I'm really going to get stuck in now, and I'm really going to do a proper clean. I'm going to clean under the bed, I'm going to pull the cupboard out, I'm going to go in behind the fridge. And what happens is when we do that, you know, what happens to the Hoover bag? It fills massively up, you know, and we end up doing a massive decluttering. Now, what happens for our poor challenged body is it finds that hard to deal with. So on one level, you've been given a lease of life. On a cellular level, all of a sudden, there's lots of energy for cleansing. But you're still in a body, those cells are still part of a body that has been challenged for quite some time. So our liver, which is our major detoxifying organ, is going to be feeling quite sluggish. So all of a sudden you've got this burst of energy and, you know, all this stuff gets cleared out. It's a bit like, you know, us putting 10 loads of bin bags out for the dustman. And then they say, oh, we're on half, you know, we're only working every other week. So what happens is all this rubbish piles up. And that then creates the idea, hi, Alison, that then creates that feeling of feeling overloaded and toxic, because what happens, your liver can't process it all, and so all those toxins are sort of floating around in the blood and they can make us feel really yucky. So they give us headaches, they can make us spotty, it can make us feel achy, it makes us feel like we've got flu, all those things of, you know, just feeling overwhelmed. And that's why often people start off feeling great. So they do it for a week, they do it for 2 weeks, they hit the end of 2 weeks, and all of a sudden that's when they feel yucky. And that's the point where you've got to that balance point where your body's going, hang on a minute, just slow down. I can't process all this junk that the cells are throwing out as quickly as you're doing it. So how do we deal with that? So there's 2 ways we can do with that. We can either slow down how fast we make the changes, or we can help the flow of toxins out the body by doing some naturopathic techniques. So first one's first. First of all, we can slow down. So obviously, if you're wanting to give up sugar and you're wanting to give up processed carbs, and you feel for you the only way you can do it, which is what I did, is to go cold turkey and just to do it all at once, then the way you can do it is maybe to have less food that creates flow in the body. So have less raw food, have heavier food, have more fats, have more protein, because that will slow the flow down. If you're not giving up lots of if you're not doing processed carbs and sugar all at once, then maybe just focus on giving up sugar and have a bit of processed carb. So again, that just slows it down a little bit, so you're more paced in what's happening, and that will lessen the detox symptoms. So often, you know, with clients, if they're going on and they're doing a full detox and they say, I feel rubbish, I say, go and have a piece of toast, go and have something that immediately slows down the system, because what you're doing, it's a bit, I always think of going on a detox and managing your energy level and managing this amount of detoxification is a bit like driving a carriage with horses. You know, it's like getting the right pace so the horses don't run away with you, and getting it so they just trot along. So basically whatever's being released by the cells is able to be processed by the organs in the body, so you have that smooth transition in. So that's how you slow it down with food. The other way is to use naturopathic techniques. And these are things like hot and cold showers, which what that does is it brings the blood to the surface, which allows our skin to be used as a route of elimination to help the toxins go out. We can also look at Epsom salts bath, and we can look at skin brushing. Now, for hardcore people, you could also look at enemas or colonics, something like that. All of those will again support the organs to process it. So you can as I said, you can either slow it down with food, or you can manage the flow out of the body using naturopathic techniques. So both of those will reduce the cravings. So generally, you know, you've got a detox craving if you've got headaches, you're feeling spotty, you're feeling fluey, you may be achy, you may be really tired. All of those is telling you that your system's feeling a bit overloaded with what's happening. Now, obviously, what's happening is, you know, if you just do nothing, then eventually you will feel better, and you can go cold turkey and go through it, and usually by the end of 2 weeks, you're going to feel much better. So, you know, you can do it. You can either ride it out, you can add something back in, or you can do some naturopathic techniques. So that's the first sort of cravings. The second sort of cravings, and this is really, really common, this one, is hunger cravings. Because what I see so much with people who want to give up sugar, but that because one of their targets, one of their goals is weight loss, and what they think is they're thinking, okay, if I take all the sugar out and maybe processed carbs as well, and just remain back with the other meals that don't have those things in, or the other food that doesn't have that in, then that's going to be really good, because that's less calories. And if I have less calories, then I'm going to be losing weight. But as most people might know by now, I don't adhere to that idea of calories in, calories out in terms of weight balance. It's all about working with your body, so your body wants to be slimmer and wants to let go of that weight. So what happens, as I said, often people come in if they have a weight loss goal as part of their sugar-free goals, is they settle down into eating much less food. And if people are eating a lot of sugar and a lot of carbs, that's a lot of calories they're getting from that, from I want to say food group, but it's not really a food group, from that source. So what you really need to do to avoid getting these hunger cravings, and hunger cravings means basically you're not eating enough for the energy you're expending. So that is going to make you spend most of your time thinking about food, noticing food, smelling food, you know, hearing the rustle of crisp packets around you, anything. Your body is going into primitive, I'm starving mode, and it's going to be hypersensitive to any sort of food around you. And this you do not want to be having on top of any detox cravings. So the way to get around it, and when I first started, I had to do this, and one of my goals was to lose some weight, is I had to forget about that, and I just had to eat much more. I had to make sure that I had 3 good meals a day. If I remember back to what I was eating at that point, I was probably eating twice as much as what I eat now. So I was having 3 good meals a day, plus always having snacks available, and those snacks were fat-based or protein-based snacks generally. So probably if you looked at the amount of calories I was having to start with, it was much more than maybe when I'd had sugar. But interestingly enough, I still did lose weight to start with. So I think what I'm saying is we mustn't be afraid to eat more when we're very hungry at the start. Because the other thing that's happening, why we're so hungry, is linked to the insulin levels. Now, if for most of us, we've been eating too much sugar and processed carbs, our baseline insulin level will be high. So this means our body's just got used to just producing that amount. But when the insulin is that high, then our natural weight balancing hormone called leptin isn't able to work effectively. Now, what leptin does is it sends a feedback loop to the brain to tell us to speed up metabolism, cut down on the cues from food, and to make us more active. So naturally getting us into a place where we can lose weight. But what happens if we're cut off from that because our insulin level is too high, then we're not able to access the fuel that we've got stored in our body, i.e. fat. And so what happens with a person out there whose body is working as it should is if they miss a meal for some reason, then their body can just automatically go and use some energy from our fat stores because the hormones are automatically there. The body goes, okay, there's no immediate glucose coming through from the food. There's no meal happening, no problem. I know there's about 10 meals worth on that belly, so we're just go into that food store, and there'll be that seamless transition from sugar burning to fat burning. And that's what happens in a healthy person who has got good hormone levels balanced. But this doesn't happen at the beginning when we're starting our sugar-free journey, because most people have been overindulging in sugar and processed carbs. So the key is just to keep eating. Make sure you have plenty to eat so you don't get hungry. Getting hungry is just suicide in terms of keeping going and making this sustainable. So that's the second one. Third one is blood sugar cravings. Now again, this is sort of linked to hunger and also linked to blood sugar. So our blood sugar is the amount of sugar we have available in our blood at any one time to give us energy. And what happens when we are eating lots of sugar and processed carbs, we eat a meal high in sugar and processed carbs, our blood sugar shoots up, our body has to produce insulin, which then takes all the excess sugar out of the blood and packs it away in the muscles and in the liver, and then as fat. And what happens is we go on this roller coaster ride, lots of sugar, take it out, oh, there's not enough sugar, oh, I need to eat another. So it's very much linked again to those hormones and insulin and leptin and not being able to access stores in the body. So those two in a way go together, because we can be really susceptible to our blood sugar ups and downs. Now, this is the one symptom that usually within 1 week people will feel much better from. They will notice that when they stop eating that, our body will automatically adjust, because there isn't being that continual call on the hormone insulin. If we're not eating sugar and we're not eating processed carbs, then the call on insulin is tiny, if at all, and we have that sense of energy being consistent. And that's what's really important long term, in terms of, people say, oh my goodness, I've got the same amount of energy all day long. People can feel a bit hungry, but not feel they're desperate, that desperate feeling, I've got to eat, I've got to eat, I've got to eat. You don't get that feeling anymore. Obviously you will after a longer time, when you've used up some of the stored energy, say in your muscles or in your liver. But mostly, it takes a long time. That's why I always used to think, when people used to say, oh, I've done a fast, I've had a day without any meals, I've just had any water. I used to think, how do people people do that, I would literally want to keel over. But I've sort of got to the point now where I go, oh yeah, I could do that actually. Maybe I don't want to, but actually my body knows how to do that now. It would be fine. It would just go, okay, no problem. I'm just going to dip into the energy stores you've got on your body and we'll just keep going. So blood sugar cravings is when you suddenly have that crash and you can't actually access any energy from the body. So the way you deal with that is a bit like the hunger. You make sure you have some snacks available to you. Make sure you get organized and you travel in the car with a banana or an apple and some nuts and seeds, and make sure you pair the nuts and seeds together with the fruit, so that really helps stabilize the blood sugar. So the fourth type of craving is gut cravings. Now, this is something that people are talking more and more about, that we have this microbiome in our gut that has almost like a separate intelligence to our body. Each of those all those gut bacteria all have their own DNA. They all have their own intelligence, their own life. They're all looking at how they can survive. Now, I often talk about the gut biome as being a bit like a compost heap, and you have to have a good balance between the healthy bacteria and the unhealthy bacteria. Now, I always say there's no such thing really as an unhealthy bacteria. There's just a bacteria that's got out of control, that's been fed and allowed to flourish, and then that creates symptoms in the body. So, for example, Candida, everybody probably has heard of Candida. It's a normal part of a healthy gut, but what happens if it's fed by processed foods, then it will be allowed to flourish at the expense of the more healthy bacteria. So what happens when you start your sugar-free journey and you cut out sugar and processed carbs, then the unhealthy bacteria are going to be being starved, and they're not going to be very happy because they want to survive just the same as every other living thing. They're focused on surviving. So they are going to be sending lots of messages via the enteric nervous system back up to the brain. So saying, go on, eat that sugar, go on, eat that processed carb, eat that cake, go on, we're starving, we really need you to do that, please, 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 please. And that's almost like another voice from the gut asking, saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. So certainly part of healing from having a sugar-full diet to a sugar-free diet is about feeding our healthy bacteria so it can flourish and outnumber the bad bacteria. And slowly what will happen is those cravings from the gut will decrease. Now, ways you can do that is straight away on your sugar-free diet, you can start including some foods that have some of those really good bacteria in. And my preferred way is to always include some cultured vegetables or some kefir made with water or milk. There's miso, there's kombucha, even natural yogurt. If you get a live natural yogurt, either a goat's yogurt, a cow's yogurt, even sheep yogurt that's live, it has some healthy bacteria in, that will really help and support your healthy bacteria to really flourish. But to be honest, the other thing you will be doing anyway, because you'll be adding in lots of vegetables and lots of plant foods, they also provide something called prebiotics. Now, prebiotics are substances that the probiotics, the healthy bacteria, love to feed on. So just by eating more vegetables, more fibre-rich fruit and vegetables, lentils, pulses, beans, you are going to be feeding that good bacteria. but that is another source of craving in the body. And, you know, it can be really, really strong. You know, those, you know, unhealthy bacteria in the gut have spent a long time cultivating their own little universe down there. And all of a sudden their food source is being taken away. And there is going to be a bit of a protest. So look out for that one. So, and the final one, there's no questions come up here, so I'm presuming people aren't asking any questions, and that's fine, as long as, let me just have a drink. So the final type of craving that I've identified is the emotional cravings. Now for me, that was the craving that lasted far, far longer than any of the physical cravings that I've previously talked about. Because things like the detox cravings, the hunger cravings, the blood sugar cravings, they can be resolved pretty quick. They can be resolved pretty quick, probably within 2 to 3 weeks, that will settle down. Gut cravings will take a bit longer, because to really repair and heal your gut, you know, that takes a good amount of time. But to be honest, the cravings from that will settle down quite quickly once you're adding in lots of the prebiotic foods. The emotional cravings, I think, last much longer. So what I mean by emotional cravings is our attachment to food as a friend, as a support, as a source of fun, as a source of celebration, as a source of commiseration. All those things make us think of sugar. If you're addicted to sugar in the same way that I was, you know, all those things, you know, sugar was my friend for decades. You know, if I was miserable, I would have chocolate. It would make me feel better for a really short amount of time, but I still felt better for that amount of time. So it's learning new habits. This is where the new habits comes in. It's about finding ways that you can celebrate that doesn't involve food, or involves food, you know, that doesn't have sugar or processed carbs in. So I now will, you know, as I'm approaching the weekend, most people have treats at the weekend. They might call it treats, or something for Friday night, because it's Friday night, and we usually have a glass of wine and some crisps and some chocolate. So, you know, now my sort of things for a Friday night might be some stuffed vine leaves, or what else would I have? Some nice cheese that I wouldn't ordinarily have, some nice sort of tropical fruit that's a bit more expensive. I bought some passion fruits, you know, the little ones with the seeds inside. Some people don't like them, but I do. They're a bit more expensive, so I just had some of those at Christmas. And when other people were having their biscuits or their sweeties, you know, I'd have one of those. So it's about learning new ways of looking after yourself, celebrating, you know, giving yourself a pat on the back. And, you know, I remember when I'd been 6 months sugar-free, I paid for myself to have my colours done. So I knew what colours would suit me better. And, you know, that felt such an indulgence. That felt like such a treat. And it's about being consciously self-caring rather than unconsciously self-caring using food. And I think that's an easy habit to get into. And it's also learning ways to manage yourself when you feel fed up, when you feel under stress, when you feel over emotional. And certainly for me, you know, I'd had a long time where I would stuff down feelings of sadness or aloneness using sugar, and I think I had to spend some time actually refeeling some of those things that I'd squashed down, and that was hard. But actually the fear of the feelings was actually worse than the actual feelings, and that was something that I really learned. It wasn't as bad as I thought. And, you know, I had some regular kinesiology to support me with that process, you know, and I did some work on myself. And really, because I was committed to doing it and I was already liking the benefits on my body, that sort of motivated me further to just go, no, I'm just going to feel this feeling. And now I notice I have periods of really stressful things going on, or really emotional things going on, and I don't even think about food anymore. And that feels like a real triumph. That's like amazing. That's like, wow, I had no thought to have any food, to squash that down, to celebrate. And so again, that is just something you have to go through. And it's little things. I remember, I think I probably wrote about it or spoke about it in the group at the time. I remember last summer, lovely first real summery day, walking along the beach, thinking, oh, it's wonderful to have the sun on your face. And I immediately went, ice cream. Oh, I want an ice cream. I want to celebrate this wonderful feeling with having an ice cream. So again, it will, occasionally it's that idea of, the rake in the grass side theory, that you're walking along, everything's quite happy, you feel quite good, and then all of a sudden something pops up. And now I just go, oh, look, there's that feeling again. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have an ice cream? Oh, do you remember what an ice cream tastes like? I sort of can't really, a lovely double chocolate ice cream. And I think, do you know what? Yeah, that might be nice, but I'm not going to do it, because how I feel every day in myself is flipping fantastic, and I want to carry on feeling like that. And now I've understood what's going on in my body, I don't want to go back. So again, it's about building those habits, So let's see, there's no questions. So I don't know if it's Alison and Michelle still watching. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you're watching it on the replay, and you'll know if it's on the replay because there's not a red light over there, then just leave a question or a comment underneath and I'll get back to you. Oh, there's a couple of likes gone up, good-o, so there are some people watching. So yeah, obviously, this is something that's our constant companion during Nourish Yourself to Sugar Freedom course. As people sort of, it's a bit of a hothouse, that course, because we're really going for it and we're really celebrating and wanting to be sugar-free. So we'll be talking about this a lot more, and people always post in the group, I'm really feeling this, I'm really feeling that, what can you do, what can you suggest? So yeah, if you want to really tackle it and really have some support, then come and join the 6-week course, which is actually 9 weeks, because I've added the 3 further implementation weeks on, where people can review what we've been doing. And also there's journal pages this time round as well. And just to say, we've probably got a week left of the early bird offer, so you've got time to think about it. It's only £97 for £97 for 9 weeks. I mean, flip, you can't even, most people spend £10 a week on sugary stuff, sugary Starbucks, sugary chocolate, all those sort of things. So that's where you'll get your money to pay, if that's what interests you. Yeah, still here, very informative. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Alison. Thank you for listening. And I'm glad it was helpful. So yes, anybody who's interested in the early bird offer, don't miss out. If you're on my email list, you'll be getting some emails with this sort of information in. And I will be keeping reminding you, because I know what it's like. I always think, oh yes, that sounds interesting, I'll do that. And unless someone jogs my memory, then I will forget about it. So yes, I'm going to say bye-bye for now. And tomorrow, what am I thinking? I think I'm talking about weight balance and sugar freedom tomorrow, because that's something that's on a lot of people's minds. So I know it's Saturday tomorrow, but I will be popping on at some point. I don't know exactly what I'm doing tomorrow, but I will find some time to pop on. Maybe if I'm out and about somewhere, I might pop on and share where I am, my location. Do you have this in written form anywhere? I have it. It's all part of the course, Alison. So it will be, there's a big section, there's a big handout on cravings in the course. Hi, Michelle. Yes, it's motivating me. Brilliant. Please post into the Menno Warriors too. What, share this video? I could share this video. Once I download it, I could probably share it to the group if you'd like me to, Alison. That would be great. And that would inspire people as well. So I'll do that. Thank you for reminding me to do that. Menno Warriors, just to say, is a menopause support group that I'm part of, that Alison runs. Anyway, lovely people. I shall see you tomorrow. And yeah, please leave me any questions, message me, PM me, anything. And I'll be back tomorrow to talk about weight balance. So have a good rest of the day, have a lovely evening, and enjoy your Friday night. Okie doke, bye for now, bye.